I hear you. I feel your pain, bro. Welcome to where the Bulls have been for the last like 5 years
No, bro.
before this
See,
season.
you're misunderstanding me. There's no pain. I'm not
Oh,
hurting.
okay.
The emotional investment is out the window. I'm just an objective observer at this point.
Oh, okay. So you're jumping on another bandwagon. I was talking to my brother, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm a John Morant fan now." So, you're not the only
Oh,
one that's given up and is looking for bright spots elsewhere around the league. So,
yeah.
Let me put you on game.
let's start it out by asking you how you are. How you doing, my guy? SOJI.
I'm doing just fine, man, because I'm emotionally checked out. I've decided that I am no longer going to put my all into a franchise that is operating in the way that it's been operating. Um, Let me say first that I applaud the Knicks for trying, and I think that they gave it a good shot. But the disconnect between the front office and the players, with Tibbs in the middle of it, is just, it's been really frustrating to watch, and it's just been disappointing as a result. This has been probably some of the worst basketball I've seen in terms of a tale of two halves, where we've gotten onto big leads against the Thunder, against the Trailblazers, against the Nets without KD, Ben Simmons, or Kyrie, and we lost to all of them within the final moments. And it's just been dumbfounding, and it's just been terrible. Big leads against the Lakers, and we just gave that up. Like, it's, and there's a lot of blame to go around. And I've chopped it up into about 25% for the front office. I think Leon Rose and the management team, they didn't do the worst job this offseason because they got some manageable and movable contracts with Fournier and Kemba and Burks. Like, within another year or so, you can really move off a lot of these guys if you wanted to, or just, trade them and give up a young player assets to move off the contract in the offseason. So that's not terrible. So I'm not going to really say that the front office is doing an awful job. I think they've assembled enough talent to at least be a 500 team with the Tibbs effort that he's known to bring. But I put about 50% of the blame on Tibbs, and like, it's what he's done with the roster and how he doesn't really give players or young players a fair shot has been really frustrating to watch. A lot of teams have spoken about the second year Tibbs phenomenon of, in that first season, there's a lot of juice. And then in that second year, he just rides his veterans out and into the ground. And I think guys like Julius Randle like Tibbs because Tibbs plays Julius Randle a lot of minutes, and Tibbs really doesn't hold Julius Randle accountable, which is really frustrating. But you play Julius Randle 35 plus minutes a night. Julius Randle is second in the NBA in minutes total in the league. And as far as him being healthy, Julius Randle has played so much more minutes than a lot of the other top players in the league. So you compound that with the fact that by the fourth quarter, Julius Randle is gassed. Everybody knows he's going left, and they know that if they take him out of the game and force him into double teams, he's going to get the ball pickpocketed. And Tibbs doesn't seem to be all that interested in making adjustments, or at least holding Randle accountable by sitting him on the bench for extended periods of time and giving more time to guys like Obi Toppin, who has more effort and who can do more on the floor. A lot of time goes to guys like Taj Gibson, who's been playing, 20, 25 minutes to anchor the defense at the five. And it's like, yeah, he's good, but, Mitchell Robinson, he's right there. You know what I mean? Nerlens Noel is out, but, you also got a guy like Jericho Sims, and you also got Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin can possibly play the five. How are you going to know if someone can play defense if you don't actually give them a legit shot on the floor on that side of the ball? And so I think 50% of the blame really goes to Tibbs and his rotations. Not real, like, trusting Fournier. He's not a very efficient shooter. He's been making it well from three, but overall it's just not what we need. We really need to just develop the young talent on the roster. We really need to see what Cam Reddish has. The fact that Cam Reddish hasn't been playing enough, it's perplexing to me. It seems like a FU from Tibbs to the front office, like, hey, I didn't want this guy. I wanted a point guard. What are you giving me him for? You have guys like Deuce McBride, who I think could be a very competent starting guard if given opportunity to grow and mature into that role. But he's wasting away in the Westchester Knicks and not really getting that chance that he needs to kind of thrive. Emmanuel Quickley is not a starting point guard. I'm sorry. I love the kid. I think he offers a lot, but he needs somebody to set him up. And that's where things kind of come together with the missing of Derrick Rose. I think Derrick Rose missing has been one of the biggest key pieces. I put that on the front office in a sense because you re-signed and you're relying on a guy who has a shaky injury history, and now it's come to bear fruit. I think if Rose is here, it would have stopped a lot of the bleeding. A lot of the fourth quarter meltdowns would have stopped as well. But it's just been a nightmare scenario that I didn't think was going to happen at the beginning of the year. I think we made a bet, and I am losing that bet horribly right now.
Yeah, I hope you're shopping for my Bulls memorabilia as we speak. It's not looking great.
Me and Stephen A are not looking good. Stephen A promised Jay Will a suit, Jalen Rose like a pair of sneakers, Michael Wilbon a steak dinner. He's paying everybody, and so will I. So it's been rough, man. And yeah, the last 25% I put on Julius Randle, because he's the quote unquote leader, but he hasn't been playing like a leader. But I don't put all the blame on him because he's gassed. If he was playing closer to like 30, 32 minutes, then he could give out maximum effort. There is some blame to go around with
Julius Randle, though.
There is a lot of blame to go on Julius Randle, but sometimes you have to take decisions out of the player's hands, and you have to know what buttons to push. And I think Tibbs on this roster doesn't. He thinks that like, hey, these are our best players and I'm going to just ride them out, but they're not impacting winning in the way that you would want to. So you got to make some changes. You got to make adjustments. If you see that constantly speaking, Julius is gassed out, like I'm constantly looking at him, like just wincing. Sometimes I feel like he might need contacts or glasses on the court because he's always like squinting. I'm like, can you not see that the double team is coming, bro? Maybe he's just so winded that it's just like going over his head. And I believe that with better coaching and better minutes distribution, you could see a more productive Julius Randle. Not the Julius Randle that's just essentially burnt out and so tired is why he keeps settling for jump shots late in the game. And once defenses start actually guarding him towards his left, he runs out of energy because he can't knock into bodies for 30 minutes, 35 minutes a night.
I hear you. I think that there is some blame that you have to dispense toward Julius Randle because it's not just his play on the court. I think a lot of it is his attitude, adjacent to the court, or the things that he's doing like outside of that. I think a lot of it, you see him throwing like a lot of temper tantrums, and I just don't really feel like that's good for the team. Tibbs is Tibbs. There's some amount of blame that goes towards Tibbs, but like as an organization with Leon Rose and the rest of the Knicks staff, you have to know what you're getting into. Like you hire Tibbs to be Tibbs, and for better or for worse, he's being Tibbs. Like I think we said it earlier in the week, like when you have a good team, when you have a team that's filled with talent, like the 2011, 2012 Bulls, Tibbs is going to be great for that. But like when you have a team that needs some nuance and some development, he may not be the best, unfortunately. So I think they have to take a hard look at what they're doing. They have to take a hard look at, Tibbs as a coach and what they're doing with their roster, because right now they are the 9th worst team in the league. They're tied for 9th and 10th with them and the Trailblazers. So they're not quite bad enough to be in that race for a Chet Holmgren or a Paolo Banchero. So they have to consider what direction they're going to go in, because realistically, they're not going to make the play-in. So I think that's probably they're 3.5 games back, I believe, the play-in. So yeah, the odds of them actually getting in there and sneaking in there are pretty low. And then even if you do sneak into the play-in, like who are you playing? Bulls, Heat, Sixers, Cavs. Like you're losing to all of those teams in like a maximum of 6 games. So there's no bright spot as far as that. So I feel like they have to pick a direction. But I hear you. I feel your pain, bro. Welcome to where the Bulls have been for the last like 5 years.
No, bro. See, you're misunderstanding me. There's no pain. I'm not hurting.
Okay.
The emotional investment is out the window. I'm just an objective observer at this point.
Okay, so you're jumping on another bandwagon. I was talking to my brother, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm a Ja Morant fan now." You're not the only one that's given up and is looking for bright spots elsewhere around the league. So